In this video, we'll show you how to configure Azure to run the Agile Cloud Manager's example applications. And you can see that we're in the Configuring Azure section, which is in the assembling keys.yaml and config.yaml page on agilecloudinstitute.io. Now, we can get to this page by clicking Engineering and navigating within the Engineering section to assemble keys and config.yaml. And you can see that we're now scrolling down. There are several steps, and we're in section 1 here, configuring Azure. And it says to log in to portal.azure.com as an account owner. And I'm going to do this by right-clicking, and you can see that it has opened up portal.azure.com. So we'll see here it says create a new subscription and then paste the subscription ID and subscription name into a text file. The subscription actually has to have a single word name. So you want to make sure that there are no spaces in the name. For example, if you want to use multiple words in the name, you remove the spaces between the words, and you can use camel case to make it more readable. For example, my subscription name would be typed in one word, capital M, then Y, then immediately subscription with a capital S, and then immediately name with a capital N with no spaces. So it'd be one word where you just have capitals to begin what each word would be. So no spaces in the name. Create a simple name that's readable and rememberable, that does not use any symbols in the name, and it's got to be one single word. Once you've done that, then you paste the subscription ID and the subscription name into a text file. If you want to use a pre-existing subscription, for example, if this is a new Azure account that comes with one subscription name, and if the new subscription name that you have contains spaces, then you can simply rename that subscription name into a single word name that does not contain spaces, and you can use that. But remember, if you're using a pre-existing subscription, that it should be as empty as possible, because the whole purpose of running these example applications in a separate subscription, if possible, is to make sure that everything runs cleanly. Step 3, you'll see, says navigate to the Azure Active Directory associated with the new subscription. Then paste the tenant ID for that Active Directory into the same text file. So I'm going to navigate to the Azure Active Directory. And in this case, it's the default Active Directory. And the step requires that you paste the tenant ID. So here we're going to hover over the icon that now says copy to clipboard. And I'm clicking on that. It says it is copied. And I'm going to take what I just copied into the clipboard, and I'm going to move it into a text file that I'm not showing you on a separate screen outside of the screen share. And I'm going to paste in the tenant ID, and I'm going to note that the tenant ID is what this value is in the text file. So now I have 3 items in there, which you'll see. We created a new subscription. We pasted in the subscription ID and the subscription name into the new text file. We made sure that the subscription name has only one word so that there are no spaces at all in the subscription name. And then we've also gone to the Active Directory that's associated with the new subscription, and we pasted the tenant ID into the same text file, which now contains 3 values. The next thing we do is this step 4, which says open up a Cloud Shell by clicking on the Cloud Shell icon at the top of the screen as shown in the following screenshot, and to make sure, as is shown in this next screenshot, that Bash is being selected as the shell. So let's go do this. See, I'm going to click on the icon to create a Cloud Shell. As this is being opened up, it's immediately trying to take us into PowerShell. And all we need to do is click to change that to Bash. Here we're going to confirm that we want to change it to Bash. And if this is the first time that you're opening up Cloud Shell, it's going to ask you to create some storage, and you should say yes and click to authorize the creation of a small amount of storage. But here, what we've done is we've opened up the Cloud Shell in Bash in Azure. And we'll go back to the steps and see in step 6, it's reminding us that we want to simply check the version. And it's simply pointing out that the steps we're taking you through in this video were tested in version 2.48 with Python 3.9. So we're going to type in az-version, and you can see that Azure CLI is 2.50, and you can see that Python is 3.9. And these are all fine because it's the same Python we tested on, and it's very close to the AZ CLI that we developed this on. If you later on have any problems, simply note what the versions were and let us know when you create a ticket what the versions were. Now that we've checked what the versions were, we need to go to step 7, which is downloading a script and a dependent ARM template into your Cloud Shell. And you can do this in 2 commands. The script is the first one we're going to download. So I'm going to copy this whole command, doing Control-C to copy it. But I'm also double checking visually here to make sure I got the entire line, which ends with .py and begins with wget. And I'm going back into the Cloud Shell, and I'm going to right click with this, and I'm going to paste as plain text. You can see that it starts with wget and it ends with .py, and I'm going to hit return. So then we go to the next command, which is to wget an ARM template. And here we're doing Control-C again, and we're noting visually it starts with wget and it ends with .json. So now I'm going to go over to my Cloud Shell again, and I'm right-clicking, I'm pasting as plain text, and I'm visually confirming that the command begins with wget and it ends with .json. I'm removing a space, but I'm noting it ends with .json, and I'm hitting return. And now we've downloaded this, and I'm going to type ls space -al, and you can see now that acmdemosetup.py has been downloaded, and you can see that the ARM template subscription scope role.json has also been downloaded. And that's step 8. Confirm that the files have been successfully downloaded by typing ls-al and making sure that the copies are available. So the next thing we want to do is our step 9 here, which is to go into this command that's here, and we want to do the same thing of selecting the whole thing, doing Control-C, and while it's still highlighted, we want to validate visually that it begins with Python and it ends with this 12-31. So we got the entire command, and we want to take this into a separate text file, and in the separate text file, we've recorded the subscription name, the subscription ID, and the tenant ID. And now that we've pasted the command into Notepad separately outside of the screen that we're showing you, and we've also pasted in the real values that we just collected earlier for subscription ID, subscription name, and tenant ID, now what we do is paste the entire command as plain text into the Cloud Shell. And here we can visually confirm again that the command begins with Python and it ends with 12-31. And what we've done here is we have simply taken the command that was at agilecloudinstitute.io in the assemble keys.yaml and config.yaml instructions page. And what we've done is we put the real subscription ID, the real subscription name, and the real tenant ID into this command as the flags that you can see here. Now I'm going to hit return to run this script. You can see that it takes a little bit of time because the script is doing a lot of things. And at some point, it's going to tell us what it's showing on the screen now, which is that it's sleeping for 45 seconds so that the service principal that it just created can propagate in the Azure network before we try to assign subscription roles to it. After it slept for 45 seconds, the script will begin to show you new results. For example, it's telling us that it's running a command. Now that the script has finished running, you can see at the bottom that I've highlighted that it says that config.yaml and keys.yaml should be created now in the current directory. You can also read the results of more of the steps. It takes you through each of the things that were done by the script and tells you that they're done. And then at the end, it does a validation. It says that all of the required fields are present in config.yaml. It also says that all of the fields in config.yaml have values. So not only were the fields created, but they have values. It tells us that the error count is 0. It then goes through and tells us that all required fields are present in keys.yaml. But it also gives us a report back showing that 3 of the fields in keys.yaml are missing values. And if you look closely, you see that these 3 fields that are missing values are AWS fields. And we'll get the AWS fields from the AWS step afterwards. So for now, this is exactly what it should be. So let's take a look at the instructions to make sure that we're doing exactly what we should do. In step 10, you can see that we've done what we just did, which is to review the output and to confirm that everything is correct. So let's scroll to step 11 and see that we want to click the download button as shown in the next screenshot. And when we do the download button, the next thing we'll do is to type in config.yaml. So here, let's find the download button. Download button is this one, and I'm going to click on it. I'm going to download, and I'm going to type in config.yaml, config.yaml, and I'm going to download it. And then on the right, you see in the bottom, it says click here to download your file. I'm clicking that, and it shows us that config.yaml has been downloaded. Now, the instructions in the web page, which we'll review again in a moment to confirm what we've done, they say to do this again. So we're going to click download again, but this time we're going to type kays.yaml, and we're going to click download. And we'll click download file. And you can see that keys.yaml has also been downloaded. So let's now review. Step 12 we completed. Step 13 was to download it, we completed. Step 14, we confirmed that this is in your download folder. We'll do that in a moment. And then we go through step 15, where we go through the same process again, but we do keys.yaml. And then we click the download keys.yaml. And then step 18 is to confirm that keys.yaml has been downloaded into the downloads folder in your local computer. So now what you want to do is go to the downloads folder, which we're keeping outside of the screen share for the moment here, but on your computer, you should be able to visit this. And you can open up on your computer config.yaml and keys.yaml and make sure that they are downloaded and that they've got values that are a list of key value pairs. Now, you want to make sure you do not do anything at all to disrupt the contents of keys.yaml or of config.yaml, because they're precise machine-generated values, and the format that was generated by the machine is what is exactly needed in order for everything to work properly moving forward. So you want to make sure that keys.yaml and config.yaml are exactly as the machine created them. You're simply making sure that they're present. So then in step 19, what you do, you want to move these outside of your downloads folder, and you want to move them someplace in your computer that you can get to with the command line in a subsequent video. So for now, we'll take keys.yaml and config.yaml, and we'll just copy them and paste them as complete files, not their contents, but the complete files. You just copy them and paste them or move them to a new folder you can create somewhere. For example, if you have a C drive, it might be very easy and convenient simply to create a root folder in the C drive called something like ACM demo and put keys.yaml and config.yaml into that root folder that you create in the C drive called ACM demo. You can download the Agile Cloud Manager for free at agilecloudinstitute.io, and you can hire the Agile Cloud Institute to perform technical support, training, and consulting. You can get more information and you can contact us through agilecloudinstitute.io.